Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home and Away, a podcast devoted to all things in and around the world of sporting Kansas City soccer. I am Drew Vanderploeg, joined once again, as always, by my good friend Cody Welton. This week on the podcast, the World Cup final is set, and do you know what that means? MLS is back, baby! After inundating yourselves with game after game filled with the most talented players on earth, we bring you the only matchup that can satiate your desires for quality football. Marcel Hartel versus Wyatt Meyer. Jokes aside, this dumb league we love so much is back in play less than 24 hours as we record this podcast. And while I have enjoyed every minute of the World Cup, I'm actually excited to get back to business and quote-unquote take it from here. Sporting Kansas City remain in the news as the secondary transfer window officially opens and new signings can be registered. They've already been linked to high-priced winger Yann Gboho, but things did not stop there. They apparently have multiple targets, including one Liverpool legend that will have the other member of this podcast duo running straight to the Sporting Style store shouting, "Shut up and take my money" for a jersey, should that move come to fruition. Let's just say it's fun to be part of the hot stove discussion, and new majority owner Peter Mallouk is ensuring that the team has whatever resources necessary to make a splash and improve the talent of this roster. David Lee plus a cadre of folks sat with media for almost an hour yesterday. It was the first time that since early June, such a forum was available, and there was a lot to glean from that conversation. We'll do our best to cover all of those details. In Potpourri, we'll discuss those captivating World Cup semifinal matches and how they went down, as well as Kansas City currents concerning road form continuing, as well as what might be causing it, and including some injury and availability issues that could cause results to be harder to attain in general for the next several weeks. Finally, we will preview the beginning of the second half, or two-thirds of the season, versus the Scum in Scumville. Sporting Kansas City have signed reinforcements since they last took the field, and it will be fascinating to see how those integrate and if they can continue to raise the competitive floor of the club. But first, Cody, it's hot stove time. When your team is bad, nothing can bring the positive vibes back faster than the potential that good players are coming to help turn that ship around. And after what seems like 84 years waiting for something good to happen at this club, we are finally starting to see the signs of that happening. Obviously, we have had the good news of Orborian joining the team, signings of Amir Karic and Moises Mosquera to further bolster what has been, to put it kindly, an inconsistent back line. But we've also been linked to a $20 million move for winger Yann Gboho, as we discussed a couple weeks ago, and some fans will be happy with just those reports. But now we're supposedly in for a similar investment for winger Andre Luiz from Olympiacos, and he isn't the only left-footed inverted right winger we've been linked with. Reports also indicate that Sporting Kansas City, yes, Sporting Kansas City, would be in the lead position to sign one Mohamed Salah should he decide to join MLS this summer. So I just need you to take me through your thoughts as you were processing all of this as it kind of went down at the end of last week.
My thought was just like, holy shit. Like, is that real? Is this AI? No, and it's, I ran, I think you texted me and I ran right to the internet and made sure that it was a real thing. And it's a cool thing. And I think that there was there was a world where I expected it might be, at least floated out there just because of Peter Mallouk's ancestry and his deep pockets. The combination of those two things, I think made it at least something that you kind of in the back of your mind connected those dots. But I have always been, and I'm still operating under the assumption that the MLS, Mo Salah's wage demands would be too much for MLS. And there are a lot of complicating factors, and I think that all of the parties involved, on our side have I think tempered expectations and said that it's a long shot, and I appreciate that. I think that's it's good that they're saying that because it is a long shot, and but there's a little bit of smoke there, right? And there's as long as there's some chance, I think that I think that it gives sporting fans hope. I have plenty of water to throw on the fire in terms of what I think it means in terms of a soccer decision, but as in terms of like a statement of ambition and intent, like I love it, and I don't know why anybody who's a fan of Sporting Kansas City wouldn't love it.
Like I said, regardless of what your thoughts are about how good he would be as a player on this, and we've had discussions about that, and we'll get to those in a second, but you're going straight to the store buying a Mo Salah 11 sporting kit, like immediately, right? Like there's no fucking question.
Absolutely.
There's no fucking question.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to be said about that part of it. The wage part of it is real, and Tom Bogert discussed this a little bit on Soccer Wise yesterday, and I suggest you go listen to that if you have an opportunity. If you watch it on YouTube, it actually has the chapters on it. You can just listen straight to the Sporting Kansas City component of it. I would suggest only listening to sort of his talk about Salah. I think he's not as plugged into what some of the other transactions are, right, other than reporting on them. The Salah one is the one he's really, really tied into. But he makes a valid point, which is that it's not that Mallouk can't afford, like, the wages are the wages. It's a designated player. It could be, you can pay him $100 million a year and he can be a designated player. And it's not like Mallouk doesn't have the money. It's a matter of, I think Bogert put it this way, and I think it's fairly salient. If Sporting Kansas City were to offer $30 million, or MLS were to offer him $30 million a year and some sort of profit sharing from, sponsorships and stuff like that, Saudi Arabia can just say, well, I'll give you 4 times that.
Right. Tax free.
Right, tax free, absolutely, yeah. And I just there's just a complete difference in those two things. So it really comes down to, does Mo Salah want the bag in Saudi Arabia or not? I find it, and I think Tom brought this point up, and it is also very salient. I find it really hard to believe that Saudi Arabia is going to allow one of the most prominent Muslim players of all time to not play in Saudi Arabia. Like,
yeah, it does.
They will do whatever they need to do financially to bring him to that league.
Yeah, I mean, I think that some of there are some other things maybe along the periphery that that might point away from Saudi Arabia. The fact that his kids have been raised in a more Western. They're not like traditional. His daughters don't wear hijab. They have a Christmas tree. Those are things that have traditionally pissed off a lot of the Muslim fans of his, and so there's that component of it as well. And there's even looking away from Saudi, there's still he could still play in Champions League in Turkey. Right, if that's something he decided to do, and they've got Turkish clubs tend to
Turkey
have plenty
notoriously
of money.
has a ton of money, right? Like they have really amped up their investment lately. Yeah.
So that's why it's a long shot, but it's a shot nonetheless. And at this point, right, we're kind of I feel like we're kind of in between phases when it comes to like global superstars, right? Like the Messis and Ronaldos are kind of phasing out, and I would put Mo Salah probably in that in that tier. And there's another crop of superstars that are sort of coming up, but they're not. They're too good for MLS at this point in time. And those other guys, Lewandowski would be one. Obviously Mo Salah, Messi, Ronaldo, like those guys are a little bit past it. And so there is a kind of there is a lag sort of built in where there's not a lot of players with that sort of cachet and that sort of global recognition that would be available for an ambitious club like Sporting Kansas City at this point in time. And so just to be, I think, even mentioned in the conversation and like it is a global conversation, it's pretty cool.
It's very cool, and it's a statement of intent. I think that is the most important part of this conversation, is a clear statement of intent by the club and by ownership to be very aggressive in doing things that increase the profile of this club, both on the field and off. That is the goal of the new majority owner, and money is no object when it makes sense to do those things. And I think that is a positive shift in direction from what we had become familiar with this club over its entire. I mean, listen, I know, there's all this conversation about, when they spent money on Polito and Gadi Kinda. Okay, they did, but then they didn't spend money for 4 years after that, right? So it's like there have been bits, puts and takes there's the Claudio Bielsa, like every once in a while they'll splash for someone that's sort of noteworthy, but it hasn't been consistent. There hasn't been this consistent push, and I feel like that this is different now, where there is going to be a consistent push to build significant relevance in this league. I think that you're talking about an owner. First of all, he makes a lot of statements like Joe Mansueto does in Chicago, where he recognizes that owning a sports team isn't a profit-generating exercise.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's refreshing. He's like, this is my hobby.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have fun.
I am wealthy enough already. I am going to enjoy this, and I'm going to give the organization the backing it needs to be able to allow me to enjoy it every week when I'm at the stadium, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is it's refreshing, to be completely honest. And trust me, his enterprise value for the club will continue to go up. I don't think that there's a problem with that. But you're talking about someone now that wants to put Kansas City in the same conversation with Atlanta and Miami.
Yep.
And teams of that ilk, even Toronto. Like, Toronto has been bad, other than kind of that 4-year sequence where they were good, but it's not because of a lack of investment.
Yeah.
Right. There are some other structural issues as to why they haven't been good, but there are, being in those areas when it comes to investment. And even David Lee highlighted that. He's like, spending a shitload of money doesn't necessarily make you good. Like, there are plenty of circumstances where we see people spending a lot of discretionary money and not getting results. He's like, it's still up to us to spend that money wisely and get the right type of players that will help us be better. But yeah, I think going back to your original point, there is a little bit of a gap there. Like, Mo is 34, and that's probably the youngest of any of the players that you were mentioning. Like, Lewandowski's in his late 30s. Griezmann is about the same age, right? Going to Orlando.
I think so, yeah.
So, Kylian Mbappe is 27. It's a long time before he's going to be, thinking about MLS, right? And
there's nobody really in between those ages, right? Like, there's
right.
There's not a lot of players with that sort of
Harry Kane, maybe, but Kane's not going anywhere. Like, Kane's probably the best striker in Europe, except when he's playing against Argentina. But I mean, Kane's not going anywhere. He's got all kinds of options,
right.
Much like Lewandowski had up until he turned 38, right? So, and striker's a position that you can play a little bit later as well. You're right. I don't see a lot of opportunities for this kind of thing. So why not take a swing? Even if it goes nowhere, right? Like, and which it likely won't, right? Like, I don't think this will end up with Mo Salah wearing sporting blue. I don't see that happening. But that Sporting Kansas City has sort of subverted every other club in the league to be the one that would actually do it should he choose to come to MLS. It's significant. It's not nothing.
I mean, just imagine just all of the KC Mo marketing opportunities. It's perfect. It's like, honestly, it's perfect.
There are a bunch of like marketing guys that are just waiting, like
just salivating, just like, oh, please.
KC Mo is just right there. Although we play the games are played in Kansas, but who gives a shit? I don't care.
No, we don't give a shit. Let's talk about the on-field fit, because I'm here to tell you that I don't think it would be I think he's pretty washed, honestly, and I think he's while he was an absolute elite player, as recently as 2 seasons ago,
18 months ago,
basically, right?
He was. He was the best. He was the best player in the Premier League towards the end of last season.
He was the previous season, not the season that just ended. The previous season when they won the Premier League. But the problem is his game is really predicated almost entirely on speed and quickness and work rate and he's never had the sort of like touch and vision, especially when it comes to passing, that a lot of his cohorts, those other players that we've mentioned have had. He's never been a sort of like physically intimidating like box presence like Ronaldo. He's not had the vision that Messi's had. He's not a scoring machine like Lewandowski. Most of his success is really predicated on speed and quickness, and he doesn't really have it. And so I think just purely from like an on the field production standpoint, I think that he's considerably more of a risk than maybe those other players were. What do you think?
I don't think he all of a sudden forgot how to play football last year.
No, not at all.
And so the reduction in performance is noteworthy. I don't watch as much Liverpool as you do, so I'm going to defer to you when it comes to assessing what Mo Salah is good at. I don't think he all of a sudden went from 47 goal contributions 2 seasons ago to being complete shit. Right? Like, I just don't believe that at all. And MLS defenses are notoriously bad. And really what Mo Salah, what he used his speed for was creating space so that he could do his things. The key thing with Mo is he's not gonna do really tight combinations. He's not gonna do he's not gonna be really ball secure under pressure. That's not really his thing. His thing is, if I have any kind of space and a fullback to take on, I'm gonna fuck you up. Yep. And that he will have opportunities to do in MLS.
You're probably right.
So, is he going to challenge for the Golden Boot? Maybe not. But I'd be shocked if he came to MLS this summer and over the next 18 months he didn't have 30 goal contributions. I would be shocked. And I'm just saying, like, if you get 30 goal contributions and all of the brand awareness that comes with it,
that's worth it.
Like, it's all worth it, right?
Yeah.
It's all worth it in the end.
Yeah.
I don't think you give him a 4-year contract, right? Like, I don't think it's something like that. But I think it's something you do for 2.5 years.
Sure.
And you see how it works out. And, there's a lot of... I hesitate to make this statement because I know where it's going to go, how people will... not enough people listen to this podcast that I'm worried about it, but I do think that some of the stuff we're seeing that Lionel Messi is able to do in the World Cup right now is part to do with the fact that he's really not getting his body kicked the shit out of quite as badly as he would have if he was playing in Europe. Sure. I think he has...
Absolutely.
I think that he is extending his career fairly significantly right now because he's playing in a league where he really doesn't get beat up the way that he was before. And I do think that Mo could potentially do that as well. Like there is some value to that. And part of the problem that he's having in the Premier League is that the fullbacks and the center backs and the defensive midfielders he comes up against in the Premier League will put a toll on his body in a way that I don't think he will have as much in MLS. So I think,
no, he wouldn't have that anywhere. I mean, the Premier League is a unique animal in that respect.
100%.
It is by far like the most physical, most grueling, demanding league in terms of speed and physicality and that's not going. The main problem. I mean, it's not that MLS is not a physical league because it is, but the speed is much slower.
But Mo Salah can step out of those challenges
absolutely.
Because he's so familiar with the speed of the Premier League.
And he's a physical player. He knows how to be physical.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily as concerned with that part of it. Like I said, you're not signing him until he's 38. But you do. I don't think in the short term you have as big of an issue with it. It's kind of like all the people that said Son Heung-min was washed when he was coming in, and I was like, bro, Son Heung-min still has a gear that goes beyond any MLS defender, dude. I promise you that. Like he's just so much better than them that it's gonna be fine. I don't think MDS is doing a very good job of using him this year, but I do think that he's still we saw it immediately when he joined the league, and I think Salah would be like that. I really do.
Well, and I think much like Son, I think he is a positive locker room presence, an off field presence, the kind of player that holds the people around him accountable, is a leader, and that is something that a team like Sporting Kansas City really could use. And I think that we're seeing them start to sign some of those players, but I mean, a player like that has a gravity that Orblorian really doesn't, frankly. So,
right. The fact that Orblorian has a gravity like that
right.
tells you everything about the lack of gravity in the locker room right now. And you're right. Obviously, Mo would have that, but also he's a guy who you enjoy watching play soccer because he
he's a
enjoys
good guy.
it.
He's not a rapist. He's not. He doesn't.
We didn't have to go straight to
the bar's low. The bar. Hey, that's the bar. I mean, really.
Okay.
He's not.
Anyway.
He's not out there singing, anti-immigrant songs and posting it on social media. He seems to be an okay dude.
But also, he seems to be a guy who just really loves playing. Like,
yeah,
he loves
absolutely.
playing the game and gets joy out of it, and that's just something that would be really nice to have. Like you said, he is very similar to Sonny in that regard. That you're bringing in a player that has an intense joy for the game, along with being an elite player. He's an easy guy to get behind. He's an easy guy to root for. And yeah, you're right. It's not the other guy that we were linked
it's not. It could at this point. It could be many guys, but yeah, it's not that guy for sure.
True. That's
but
fair.
we really dodged a bullet on that one. Yikes.
Oof. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that was ever happening either. But I say that, and if Chad hears this, he's gonna get grumpy with me. He's like, "We did all that." It's like, I know it was real. I know the conversations are real. I think we were being leveraged that whole time, and Mo may do it here. It may happen in the same way. He may leverage it. The stuff about his family I wasn't as aware of, but it does make sense. He's been in Europe since 2012, so I wasn't as aware of that stuff. I'm not as tied into Liverpool or any of the discussions around him, so that is an interesting component of it. Where, and you've heard the reports from Tom Bogert and Paul Tenorio that he very much would prefer to stay in Europe. And that does make sense, right? He wants to be in Europe and play in Champions League, but also stay in Europe because his family has become very familiar with Western European lifestyle. So we'll have to see what happens. But it's one of those things. It's just nice to be nominated.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
It's an honor to be nominated.
Exactly. A signing that seems much more likely to happen, in fact, the most likely of all of them, on the basis of the reporting, is Andre Luis. So this is another left-footed, inverted right winger who currently plays for Olympiacos. Prior to that was at Rio Ave in the Portuguese First Division and was cutting dudes up in Portugal prior to joining Olympiacos in the winter transfer window this last season. And it's worth noting that Rio Ave and Olympiacos are both owned by the same guy who also owns Nottingham Forest. So there's some, incestuous relationships happening there regarding those transfers and such. He did not play as much for Olympiacos. I did watch a little bit of his stuff there when they were in Champions League. They had a Champions League knockout round competition versus Leverkusen, and I watched a little bit of both of those matches. He came in the sort of last half hour of both of those just to get a little bit of an eye on him. This guy is good. He's a really good player. There's some question about the size of the fee and whether it's appropriate for him or not. And Cameron made a good point on the Discord. It's a designated player who gives a shit. And as the point you've made on this podcast several times, the transfer fee is just what it costs to get the guy.
Yep.
It's just what it costs to get his contract. It does not necessarily mean you paid well, you overpaid, whatever. It's what does it cost to get this guy's contract and be able to get him on our roster. And he would be a DP no matter if it's a $10 million fee or a $20 million fee. At that point, we're just spending Peter Mallouk's money, and he seems to be willing to spend it. So whatever, right? And this guy is quite a bit different player than Yann Gboho was. We're talking about a right winger who plays inverted onto his left foot quite a bit. Extremely fast, like very pacey, like very fast player, but also a lot bigger. He's like 6'1", which is pretty big for a winger. He gave me kind of like when I was watching him, gave me kind of Albert Elise vibes, like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Not quite as yoked up top. Like Albert Elise looked like he could probably play safety for an NFL team. I don't know that he's not built quite like that, but he's lanky and goes fast and really like creates space really well. And then also has quality technical skill. I mean, I think, Gboho was more like a sort of a shifty, sort of on the ball winger, and would really like try to like tecker his way around guys and such. Really had like a lot of acceleration and a lot of like sort of on the ball technical skill. Luis is more of like a physical player who is going to play through contact, push himself down like fast and hard, and is just like a physical presence that's very difficult to deal with. And I like him. Like I think he's really interesting and good. It would allow Capita to move to the left, which I think is probably his best position. I think the way that Wiki sets up this team, ideally you're playing with inverted wingers. Like that's kind of his idea of kind of both guys cutting inside. That's something we've become familiar with at Sporting for a long time. And so Capita could cut in on his right from the left side, and then you'd have Luis cutting in onto his left from the right side. And you're talking about a guy who's early prime age and probably not going anywhere. Like you sign if you make a $20 million transfer fee for this guy, you're signing him to a 4+ year deal, and he's there throughout all of his prime. And those are the kind of signings that I like. Those are the kind of signings that get me jazzed up. As much as Mo Salah would be fun and cool and interesting, if you're talking about making this team really good for the next 4 years, this is the kind of signing that does it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that both of these players are they're intriguing and they're different enough that it kind of gives you maybe a little bit of insight as to maybe different kinds of winger profiles that are being looked at. And I mean, I like Andre Luis is a really exciting prospect, as you mentioned, right? Like, because is a goal threat and and that I think that is that's the thing that really jumped off of the page to me when I was looking at his metrics, is that it's a player who can score goals and create chances and assists, and like it seems like the way that the team is going to be set up to play, it really demands those sort of elite attackers at those positions. And so while I think we love Calvin Harris, like that is not the player, right? That is not that is
Calvin
not a
Harris
player.
is the guy you go to when you need him at the last 20 minutes of a game.
Right. That's not the player with the end product that is needed for to make this all work. So that's kind of what I think about him.
Right. I think that I mean, this is a guy who you're building your offense around, right?
Yeah.
You put him with a Manu Garcia and a Dejan Joveljic, and not only is Luis creating his own goal scoring chances with his own abilities, he's also drawing a bunch of guys close, and then he's handing it off to Decky, who if you get him the ball inside the 18-yard box with only one defender in front of him, it's a goal, 9 times out of 10? Like, this guy is an elite finisher. So, like, you put those two things together, and now you have a guy delivering assists as well as scoring, and that's really what this team has needed from this position for a while.
Yeah, since the heydays of like Shallowy and Johnny Russell when they were both banging, right? Like that's what you need. You need wingers who are goal dangerous, especially if you're not going to have like elite fullback play, if you're not going to have elite midfield attackers. Then it really comes down to those wing players, and I think that MLS is a good it's a good league to invest in that, right? I think if you invest in the right players at these positions, and it looks like both of these players could be that kind of player, and then you already have that centerpiece to your attack in Decky, man, like that's an attack that could really, really, really make waves.
Yeah, and it's not completely outside of the realm of possibility that they could sign both of these guys.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That's that's an instant attack, from what it looks like on the outside.
Right. Right, and you're talking about two wingers who do things differently, but they're playing on opposite sides of the field, and they're you're bringing so much quality into the team at once on the attacking side of the ball, and that's not to say that they would do that, but they could, they absolutely could, and this is more of the statement of intent from Peter Mallouk, where he's replying to Tom Bogert on X, and he's replying to fans on X saying, like, we are going to be aggressive trying to improve this team right now.
Yeah. And
it's clear based on and there are, by the way, these are the ones that have been reported on.
Yeah.
I have it on fairly good authority. There are several others that you haven't heard about that they have approached, had conversations with. So this is what a good functioning soccer team does when they have ambitions to try to improve the team. They have an A, a B, a C, a D, and an E plan, right? And it's like, and if it makes sense, they can get two of them over the line, they'll do that. And then we've got to start talking about the mechanics of how they make that work with Manu or how they make that work with whoever. But the feeling that I'm getting is that also Mallouk is very interested in being just as aggressive as Inter Miami is about pushing the boundaries of the salary cap. What ways can we kind of push this to the limits to get the best team on the field we possibly can, right? Yeah. I mean, is there, if they sign one and then the other one might be a loan to buy, kind of like Rodrigo de Paul, there's a precedent there for something like that. I'm telling you, Manu Garcia's comp isn't that far above the max TAM. They could get a little goofy with a contract extension on him to be able to pull his average down and get him below that threshold so that they could actually sign two DPs. There's some things they can do that we haven't historically seen or really even considered as being likely, because it would cause investing significant amounts of money in a direction that may or may not be recuperable, right? Like, it's just like one of those things where it's like long-term, like it's kind of like the whole situation with the Travis Kelce extension or a contract in Kansas City, where he's got a bunch of void years on the contract, and you're sort of like eating some cash in the future, not just salary cap wise, but Clark Hunt is eating some money in order to be able to sign him for another year, even if he retires or they void it or whatever they do at the end. So like, that's stuff that we haven't historically seen ownership being interested in.
Right.
The calculus is completely different now. Yeah. And so and again, like I said, the sense I'm getting is that Peter Mallouk is very interested in making decisions that will improve this club, that we feel confident will improve this club. And if they will, he's willing to write the check. And that's just not something we're familiar with. That's just not something we're used to, like, honestly. And so I think all of us are going to have to sort of get adjusted to this new world that we're living in. But it's great, man. It like, there's a sense of, you and I discussed this before we started recording, there's a sense of positivity that I haven't felt about this club in a long time, because you start thinking about what is possible with, hiring. I mean, David Lee was a coup to hire him over, and he's still got a lot of work to do, and he'll admit that he does, and he has admitted that he does. But still, like, you give a guy like that the resources that we're discussing, and we no longer are the mid-market team that can't compete financially. Right.
Yeah,
kind of wild.
We know. Yeah, we've gone from, I mean, just in the last couple of months, just really from the beginning of the season, we've gone from, we have two DPs. Well, it's. I think you and I were fairly negative or pessimistic about the prospect of adding a third DP this summer, to having like a realistic conversation about adding two DPs this summer, and maybe even adding Mo Salah this summer, and like it's just a different. It's just a whole new way of thinking, and there are so many possibilities that are available to the club now that were not before, and it's just it makes it a lot more enjoyable to be a fan, where that you have an expectation that things are going to happen and things are going to improve, and at bare minimum you're going to be getting more talented players in your club, and that's always a good thing, right? And
exactly,
it's up to obviously the coach, and it's up to Lee to balance the squad. It's up to the coach to put them in positions to succeed. But like, you can't do any of those things if you don't have the talent walking through the door. And so that is sort of the base level where we're at. Is the talent's going to start coming in through the door, and then we need to start doing something with it. So it's super exciting time.
It's a perfect transition to the conversation that Lee had with the media yesterday, where he basically sort of reiterated exactly what you just said. We are in the market for good, talented players. We want to add talent to this roster. We know we need more talent on this roster. We need to make it better. And while he wouldn't obviously comment on any specific player rumor, and no general manager is ever going to do that live in a press conference, he made it clear that this was a statement of an intent, and that they were going to be aggressive and trying to improve the team. And that is just a positive sort of, and we've heard of this talk before, but it was hard to see it, right? It was hard to see it actually coming to fruition. We're hearing enough now that it's like, okay, something big here is going to happen. Right. Even if it's just Andre Luiz, even if that's the only thing that happens.
That's so a big deal.
You're talking about an $18 to $20 million transfer for a player.
In their prime.
He's 24, man. Like, you're getting a guy in his early prime who's going to be with you for the entirety of his prime.
He's like a dribbly Brazilian winger, like Peter Vermes would never. Like, no. I'm so excited. I'm just like...
I mean, he's not even dribbly. He's just fast. He hits the push by and goes, and he's like, "Bye, dude. Like, bye." I was so excited about this. I started a Football Manager save with Sporting, and like created. I put the whole roster together exactly as it is, and just added him. And in like the first 20 games of the season, he had 8 and 7, and was immediately like the best player on the team. Like, immediately.
Sweet. Yeah.
And it was just like, I know Football Manager's not everything, but
that's
he's
like
got
a designated player.
Yeah, 100% designated player. Like,
but I mean, like, that's like a real that's like somebody who comes on your team and changes the team. Like,
100%.
That's what designated players are supposed to do.
Exactly. Well, and you referenced this. We talked about, like, would they bring another DP in? I'm thinking of DPs in the sense that the DPs Sporting Kansas City has signed, which are Manu Garcia and Dejan Joveljic. And I'm not trying to be a dick to either one of those guys. This is 4 times more expensive, 5 times more expensive than either one of those. This is a completely different, like, level that we're discussing here.
Yep.
We're talking about taking a guy away that Benfica wanted to buy last winter. Or was it Benfica? I think it was Benfica. Yeah, so, like, we're talking about same thing with Gboho. Gboho has got, like, bottom-tier Premier League teams coming after him. He's got, like, all kinds of other options. The players we're coming after are not guys who are, I mean, Mo Salah accepted, not guys who are at the end of their career and whatever. No, we're talking about, like, early prime guys who could play at, maybe not Barcelona, but not just one below Barcelona. They could certainly play at like Valencia, right? Maybe not at Man City, but certainly at Brighton, right? Or Brentford, right? Like, we're talking about guys that could do that, and these are the players we're going after. That is significantly different than Manu Garcia or Dejan Joveljic.
Yeah.
Again, no shade on either one of those guys. And so, like, I think now that the sort of the scope has been opened and you're like, oh, this is the type of player we could go after. Now all of a sudden we're having a different conversation about the impact of that said player could have on the team. And yeah, I mean, the big thing that popped out to me on, and I know Football Manager is not everything, but he had 17 pace, 17 out of 20 pace. No one in MLS has 17 pace. Literally no one in MLS has 17 pace. This guy would be, and they don't put guys like this who are scouted in Europe and whatnot, they have scouts that like create all these numbers.
Yeah.
This guy is wicked fast, like way faster than Capita. And we've seen Capita on field.
Capita's pretty fast.
Yeah. So yeah, I just like, and this is a league where being a fast winger can get you in space.
Easy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Easily.
Yep.
So, and obviously he's way better than just his physicals, but that was just sort of eye-opening to me how just on a different sort of tier he was as far as his capabilities were concerned. Going back to the press conference, David Lee said a lot of the things that we sort of expected to hear. 2 to 4 more signings planned. That kind of aligns with the 4 to 7, and he even brought up the 4 to 7 in the conversation. So like he's trying to stay consistent with like what they were trying to accomplish. He said maybe one defender. And that makes sense. I think it would be right back. If any position on the field, you would assume it'd be right back that they'd be looking for another defender, and otherwise he's a focus on the attacking positions on the field. I think that's for 2 reasons, right? One of them is the main spots he has left on the senior roster without waiving some guys is U22s, like discretionary spots, or DP/U22s, right? And he called them 3 discretionary spots.
Yeah,
you're not going to spend a discretionary spot on a right back, right? So like, if you go get a defender, we spent
one on a left back before. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that was the prior regime, and that was a terrible use of that position. I mean, I like Logan Ndembe, and he was a good player, but that was a terrible use of that mechanism.
I agree. I was just poking fun.
Yeah. So it's. Let's back up for a second because I think it's noteworthy that we discussed that. Logan Ndembe's transfer fee was under $1 million, and he was used as a U22 player, and he was making like $400K a year. That is not maximizing the use of that mechanism. These players only hit the cap for $200,000. You can pay any transfer fee on earth for them, and as long as they don't make more than the TAM max, which is, or more than the salary cap max, which is 12.5%. So it's like $800,000 you can pay them in salary. Most 21-year-old players you're buying are not commanding north of $800,000 a year salaries. So, like, you can go big in that position if you want to. That was not what they did with Logan Ndembe. They spent more in transfer fees on Lasse Bergjansson, on Capita, on Moises Mosquera. All 3 of those players had higher transfer fees than Logan Ndembe, and none of them are U22s.
Yeah. So,
like, that is a shit way to use that mechanism. I'm sorry. There's a shit way to use it, and I know you were making a joke, but I think that we need to be more, as we look at kind of like the intent of this team to be a little bit more aggressive about how they improve the roster, U22 should be $5 million transfer fees, right? Like that's what you should be looking at, right? And you don't do that on a right back ever. Like that's just the absolute worst way to try to improve your roster. So I do expect there's going to be some discretionary money spent on attacking positions, which makes sense. Like it makes sense, especially as we're going to get to a conversation here about Taylor Kyle being injured, and there's no backup striker right now or backup sort of shadow striker number 10, like at all on the roster. So like you probably need to add some depth there. You know, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have depth at the wing positions as well from a U22 perspective, because I don't think we should be saying, hey, let's bring in Steven Afrifa and see what he can do. No, let's maybe move on from that conversation.
Yeah, that ship has sailed.
Yeah. I'd like us to not discuss Shapi Suleimanov or Steven Afrifa ever again. Like that would be great.
Amen.
So let's bring in some depth in those positions. And I think The most interesting part of that was the fact that central midfield seems to be a place that is not going to be addressed this year. And I'm a little surprised by that because I feel like this team's a little light in that position as far as like talent is concerned. I don't know what your thoughts are there, but I think that, the central midfield it's Lasse, it's Manu, and it's a bunch of dudes.
I think that that's a pretty accurate description, but I think that I think the de-emphasis of central midfield in the transfer market probably accurately represents how the team's going to play, how they're going to create chances, how they're going to keep other teams from creating chances, and I think that probably at this moment in time. They're choosing to invest in those other areas of the field that they think to be of larger need in order to. I think one facet of it is to get LBJ more time because he's kind of I don't know, like he hasn't impressed me. And you and I were
going to have that conversation here in a second for sure.
And I think that the Goss theorem still applies, right? Like he might need some time betting into the league and getting just getting used to everything.
Being around good center backs may help.
That always helps. Always helps. Investing in players who can press from the front and defend from the front, that absolutely helps. And I think honestly, I think pairing him and Zoe is not the worst thing in the world. I think I've already said this. I think that especially if you have good center backs, you might even be able to pair him and Manu in a double pivot, and that would work okay for me. So I think that is. I think that maybe they're taking a wait and see, kind of approach, because that is definitely going to be a weak spot on the team that has to be addressed moving forward, and I think their inactivity just tells me that they're trying to fix that position, that area of the field by addressing balance in other areas on the field and seeing if that sort of helps, because they spent money and have some level of trust in LBJ, and I think they're going to see if surrounding him with better players in the right positions helps get the most out of him. And then I think that if that doesn't happen, or maybe even if it does, honestly, I think the next window will be dedicated to center mids, and it might also be that they don't, there's not the center mids that fit the profile that they're looking for available, at the market that they want right now as well. So I don't know, yeah. I personally really want them to buy some, I would love for them to spend $20-25 million on a central midfielder. I would be over the moon about that. But I am taking a wait and see approach, and I don't. I think that their squad building approach is interesting, and I'm willing to sort of see what happens.
I think you bring up a good point about the squad building approach, and we've discussed this in the past. If you spend $20-25 million on a central midfielder, now you have two of your designated player spots, your most valuable spots on your roster, in midfield.
Yeah,
is that the best way to go about building a roster? You've got two designated players and one high TAM player. I'm fairly sure Lasse, they spent some gam to buy down his transfer fee, but I'm fairly sure Lasse's cap charge is way up there, $1.5 million or so or above.
Yep.
So now you've got a DP plus a high TAM plus another DP in midfield. Is that the best way to allocate your resources to be a successful soccer team? Maybe not.
Only if they're balling out, and they don't seem to be balling out, right?
They're not balling out right now, but I think it's also worth a wait and see. Like you said, you just signed Lasse in March. So we've made it 4 months. Maybe there's a Goss theorem or not. there's an opportunity here to say, let's put some good players around him. By the way, it's interesting you noted that, with the right defense that maybe Manu could sit back there. When he played at Aris, he was mostly a deeper player. He was not the point. They were playing in a 4-2-3-1 for the most part, and Manu was part of that double pivot. He wasn't as far up the field. And so, you and I have discussed that we think he's probably more valuable moving the ball forward, getting it to zone 14, and then orchestrating from that deeper position than he is as an out-and-out 10 and a pressing forward like he's being used right now. And maybe that there's an opportunity with these U22 spots or other sort of spending on the attacking side to make it less important for him to be that far up the pitch. But again, like you said, it does require the defense being solidified a little bit more significantly. They are trying to do that with Orblorin, with Moses Mosquera, with Amir Karic. I think that perhaps there's potential for that to happen. And again, if they improve the right back position as well, as much as I've been whelmed by Justin Reynolds when he's played, he hasn't played very much. Like, he can't stay on the field, and that's a problem, right? Like you said, like you say all the time, the best ability is availability. And his hamstring does not seem to allow him to be available very often. And as such, we're dealing with either Jake Davis or Ian James playing that position. And, I mean, that's not giving us the performances we need from it, given how important fullbacks are in attacking football these days, right? Like, you just need those guys to be that. Unless you're going to sort of shift the dynamic and sort of do this elbow backy thing like Poch was doing in the U.S. men's national team, and maybe then Ian makes a little bit more sense in that position, and you send Karic a lot more forward. I could see that happening, but I so far we haven't seen Wiki adjusting his shape that much, right? Like, he wants his forwards to press and sort of manage that. And in the short term, we need to find a dynamic where that works a little bit better. And right now, without Taylor Calhera, it's Manu Garcia. And we've sort of seen the returns on that so far. So it'll be interesting to see how he works that out.
They've been disappointing, right? And I'm not sure exactly why. Is it just Manu is just not as energetic of a presser? He's not as good of a ball winner, or
I don't think either he or Decky are that good at pressing.
I think that is very accurate. I think Decky's a terrible presser.
When you fall into a 4-4-2, and your two main pressers in progressive build out for the opponent aren't good at pressing.
Yeah.
It sort of just like negates the value of your pressure at all.
Yeah. If it's really easy to play past that first line of pressure, you might as well not even be pressing.
And so, but that pressure is key to kind of, I think, what they do. Like when Calhera is in, and why it was successful when the last few games of the first half of the season, when Calhera was in, is because he was a good presser. He was occupying and creating problems, and we would see turnovers created in the opponent's defensive third. I don't back Manu and Decky to do that.
Right.
Yeah. And it seems to be like a key component of what Wiki wants them to do.
So do you think how long is Calhera injured for? Do you know? What was the timeline on his injury?
It's going to be a while.
Okay. So, I mean, it seems like it's a perfect opportunity for Jake Davis to step in and contribute at yet another position, because he's played that before. And, if you're looking for, someone who has, energy and bite and who can press, that might be...
Do you have faith in the fact that Jake Davis will do that in a professional manner?
Well, no, more so than anybody on the roster currently, right? I'm kind of looking at what we have, and I'm just trying to find a way to not put Manu in that position, but it seems like it's going to be a Manu. So
I just don't know how else to get, I don't know how else you fix it. other than I really actually wanted to talk to you about this. That's why it's in the tactical corner thing and the requirement of pressing forwards and Kansas City's lack of them, because I don't think it works without a tactical change. Like they have to make a tactical change. Either they decide not to press, which is a problem in and of itself, because now they're inviting the ball coming to the half line. And then they're trying to collapse, and I don't think that's really LBJ's move either. Like
no, but it is. But it could be Zoe, right? Like Zoe could be excel at that. And if you have good defenders behind him, it could work.
I think you're putting a lot of pressure on Zoe being an elite ball winner. I think if you have an elite ball winner, I think you can do that if you have Andreas Kubas. Right. I don't know that Zoe is that guy. And so, like, what really worked for them in those games was the fact that they kept the field tilt in their favor pretty significantly, right? They just, very much like the U.S. men's national team, they kept the ball away from their own goal. That was the thing. It's easy to defend when the ball's never near your goal, right? Yep. I don't know how they do that with this group of players without dedicating the wingers to pressure. And if you dedicate the wingers to pressure, now they're not there to defend the wide areas.
Yep.
And now you're putting a lot of effort on your fullbacks. Now, with Amir Karic, maybe we're okay there. With Jake Davis or Ian James?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, so there's these dominoes that sort of come into play here. And it's weird that we're discussing Taylor Calhera. It's not that Taylor Calhera is some sort of unicorn that you couldn't find anywhere else. It's that the two DPs on this team just suck at pressing. Yeah. That's all I can. I don't know, and it's a problem I've been trying to solve all day. While I've been like putting the timeline together, trying to think about a way that they could tactically sort of adjust their pressure ideas, because I think Calvin Harris is a pretty good presser. Yeah. But I don't know how you put him up there to do that effectively without creating a chasm on the left side of the field, because now Manu is the one that has to cover that area.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult problem for sure. And none of the solutions allow for Manu to be part of a double pivot. I think that's part of the issue too. And it's like, I don't know. A lot of these issues would be solved if Lasse was as good as we kind of thought he was going to be, right? But he just hasn't been that player yet. I
think he is a really good player. I just don't think he's a dominant ball winning player. Right. And I do think that his ability to build rapport with decent center backs behind him will also help him to shade into space and intercept the ball more effectively and sort of be a little bit more like an Elie number 6. Like that, yeah. I really do think of Lasse more like that. Like that is more his profile, right? He's not going to be an epic tackle winner. He's not going to be hoovering up every loose ball. That's not really going to be his thing. But he's going to see the game better, step into passing lanes, stop plays from happening just from his overall ability to predict and react to play effectively. We haven't seen it very much because it's a bit of a mess around him.
Yeah.
Like, candidly, right? Also, to your point, he's only been here for 4 months. And everyone else is learning his game as well. I think we've seen good games with him and Zoe, and I think Zoe can be good next to him. But as we saw in the Atlanta scrimmage, which is kind of like leading us to this conversation about is Lasse a problem, when Zoe goes on a walkabout, things become problematic really quick.
Yeah, he has to stop doing that. I mean, I think that really that's a big takeaway from our conversation, but also from the scrimmage is that. If he's not going to stay home, the team really needs a stay-at-home number 6 who's a ball winner. Because there are no ball winners in the starting lineup without Zoe, and that is a problem. Like it will be a problem.
Ian James is a decent ball winner. I will give him credit for that. Like one of the things he does
He
as
can
18-year-old kid, he does tackle well. Like
right.
he does.
He
tackle
can win
well.
the ball in his individual duels. I'm talking about somebody who wins balls, right? Who searches
Especially,
out.
And wins them in the middle of the field and turns
Right.
the attack the other direction, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
And that is obviously not Ian James. He's a defender. He's just not doing those things.
And just as a reminder, and this is something we've discussed like ad nauseum, like Elie was not that player, but Roger was. You have to have a player who does that.
Well, and Elie would turn the ball over a lot. Like he wouldn't. So when you say winning balls, Elie would win balls, but it's mostly off of interceptions. That's how he would do it. Whereas Roger would do it off of winning duels and tackles. But you had the combination of the two, right, in midfield that were turning the opponent over a lot, and they were never getting through the midfield. Very much like Spain, who we're going to talk about here in a second. Spain created a fucking wall against France. You just weren't going to pass.
Yeah.
You just weren't going to pass.
Well, and it's not, and they don't have, just a destroyer roaming around everywhere.
They don't. Well, I mean, Rodri he makes getting the ball look so easy.
He does.
That I think sometimes we underestimate we underestimate the whole concept of a destroyer, I think, a little bit, because you're right, but the dude wins plenty of tackles. It just doesn't look like much because it's Rodri, right? But yeah, I mean, between Rodri and Fabian Ruiz, just none shall pass. It was like the night, right? Like none shall pass, and you can do that, right? You can do that. But yeah, I mean, Rodri against France, Rodri had 6 defensive contributions, 6 total that were registered. There were a lot of times where he just did shit where the ball didn't get past there because he was there.
Right, and so like so much of that is positioning, and when we talk about Basong, on walkabout, that's kind of what we're that's embedded into that, right? Like if you are not where you're supposed to be, if you're not in the way that helps your team win the ball back, then and you're playing as a defensive midfielder, then that's a problem, because you're not, you don't have that other complementary skill set. You don't have, like, someone like Basong does not have the other skills that would make him like a great box to box midfielder that's going to help alleviate pressure at the other end of the field, because he is such a adept passer. Or even an adept presser. Like he really has to focus on being a good defensive midfielder, and I don't know that I'm sure that he's not good enough to be like a starting defensive midfielder on a good MLS team right now. He might be able to get to that point, but absent that's something that absolutely has to be addressed.
Of course, it does.
Because we know that LBJ is not that player, right? So we have to find a midfield partner for LBJ that helps him leverage his talents the most.
Right, because you need to orchestrate play from that position, right? Like that is the basis by which you are orchestrating your offense. Like if you were to ever sort of say, like, what's the quarterback of a soccer team, it's the 6. It really is. I mean, like, that is where all play begins and sort of starts. And I think that LBJ has the skills to do that. I don't know that he has the skills, or maybe he does have the skills to win the ball, but it's not in the Tyler Adams way, right? It's not in the Andres Cubas way. It is in a much different way. And you need to have somebody who does the Tyler Adams or Andres Cubas things. And Zoe has that a little bit, but it's a question of, like, trying to coach him into understanding that is his role only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely.
And, I think that he's enough of a team player to do that if that's what they ask him to do, but he's got to stay home. Like, if we're going to have him roaming around all the field, we can just put Jake Davis in that role. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
I don't need all the roaming. Like I said, if that, like I said, Jake is probably a better. He isn't probably. He is a much more technically skilled player than Zobasong is. So like, if we're gonna have all the roaming, I'll just put Jake in there and let him do whatever he does. Like
Yep.
you said before about putting him in the 10 shadow striker position. I mean, Chad Reynolds likes to say he's like a dog chasing a car most of the time. That might be the way to do it. Like you allow him to do those things.
Just let him go out there and press.
Yeah. I mean, he might have 7 red cards, but, whatever.
I think that it's just worth pointing out to people who are listening that we're trying to solve problems with the players that are on the roster right now, right? Like, because if they're not going to search, if they're not going to prioritize adding another central midfielder during this window, then what we have is kind of what we have. And so it's just a matter of us sort of like thinking about different permutations of how that looks on the field. Like how can that work? How can it be functional? How can you arrange it so that there is balance and that you have the ability to attack without leaving yourself exposed, and you have the ability to defend while still keeping open the possibility of attacking. Like those are all like, that's why Wiki makes the big bucks, right? Is because it's moving those pieces around on the field and getting players who work well together and who help accentuate each other's strengths and cover each other's weaknesses, and then letting them do their thing. And I suspect that this midfield is going to be a work in progress for a couple of windows, honestly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think we're both sort of like, we're different ideas are coming in as we're having this conversation. We're sort of verbalizing our thoughts, and you're getting a little bit more of a look into how Cody and I just talk about soccer sometimes, where we're just like, hey, what if you did this? What if you tried this? And you're right. Like, this is Wiki's job. It's his job to figure this out. What I am hopeful for is that there is some flexibility in how he looks at this and how he looks at the strengths and capabilities of players and what he's asking them to do, because we've done the ideologue thing where you just put the guy in the position and this is the tactic.
Yeah.
I don't think that works, right? Like, especially with a team especially with a team sort of short on talent the way that it is, you have to maximize the talent you have the best way you can, and you need to have principles. You need to have enough consistency that players don't get confused. Don't get me wrong; like, there needs to be consistency. So there's a balance to both sides of that, but you also need to put guys in positions to succeed based on their capabilities. And so I'm interested to see kind of how that works out, because Calheiro's going to be out for a bit. Like, that's the best way I can say it. Like, there was concerns that the injury was pretty serious. It doesn't seem to be as serious as that they were concerned. It happened in the non-televised second scrimmage with Atlanta, and we'll see kind of like, but it's going to be a little bit before he's back. Whereas Justin Reynolds, he might be back fairly soon.
For a game.
Borges, and for a game. Yeah. He was totally fine, man. He was completely recovered from this. Went with the US U23s, was totally fine. Redid it against England in the scrimmage. So, like, I don't know what to tell you. They've actually had him on the shelf since then. So I don't know what to say. It's just, I've even talked to Tim Hotsey about this, because he's, Reynolds was at Chicago for a long time. I was like, does this guy have hamstring issues? He's like, honestly, man, he didn't play enough for me to really know, like, if he had that. But yeah, there was no like memory of like significant injury issues. I think it might just be a hamstring is a hamstring, and sometimes they just don't heal right. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And recovering from them in season is hard. I think they're trying to be exceptionally careful this time around, since it's obviously like the third go around where it's been re-injured. So we'll just have to see how it goes. In the meantime, they gotta work with what they have. But yeah, Borges and Calheira are going to be out for a little bit. The good news is Moises Mosquera has a visa, And Amir Karic has a visa. As of this afternoon, we were notified that he is available against St. Louis. So that's good news. Mosquera, unlikely we're going to see him start against St. Louis. This is a guy who's, was in his offseason and was on vacation, basically, when he signed. So he is still getting up to match fitness. So I think...
Which is fine, unless he can play right back. If he can play right back, he needs to get the fuck on the field ASAP.
I think Ian James is probably going to be that guy. But
I would agree.
We saw him... he played he played all 90 in the scrimmage at that position. I think that's a fairly noteworthy, data point as far as who's going to be playing right back against St. Louis.
I don't think it's good for him. I don't think it's good for the team. I think it's
Why do you think it's bad for him?
Because I want him to be playing center back. Like, I don't think that like just being with the first team is the way to go. I think like he's not going to be a right back. Like, he's just not.
I mean, neither was Justin Shea. I mean, Justin Shea played center back now, and he played right back for Dallas.
Right. But I mean, just in terms of his his development, and with an eye towards getting him a move to Europe in the future, if that's what he wants, I want him to be playing center back. As I think that honestly I think it's probably better to play center back for the twos than it is to play right back for the ones, if that's the goal.
I would disagree with that personally. I think he's going to. They're different. They're completely different positions.
They're completely different positions.
But I'm gonna say a couple things. Ian James' style of play is to be aggressive getting forward. Even when he plays center back, he's very aggressive going forward. So this allows him to do that with a little less concern about the negative consequences of doing so. I also think, again, this gets into the conversation about, is he putting players in positions to succeed? If we sort of move into a 3-2-5 build out phase, and he sort of is, and they've done this when he's played right back, he is sort of a third center back in possession. I think
in that context, I think it's fine. But in the scrimmage specifically, like, he was not doing that. He was roaming up the field like a right back, and he is not good at that.
No one else was going up there doing any sort of progressive shit.
I'm just saying. Yeah. And he is good defending with his back to the goal. He is not very good when he gets turned around and he's running towards the goal, and that happens a lot when he plays fullback.
That's a fucking 17, 18-year-old kid. Of course he's not good.
Right, but one who plays fullback, right? Fullbacks are a lot more used to that action. And so
I think you're over. I mean, and personally, I think you're making the value of a fullback a little bit higher than it, like how hard it is to play that position, like more significant than it is personally. Like, I think a guy who has grown up playing center back could play fullback easily. Like, it's a fucking simple position to play. Compared to playing center back, it is a simple position to play. I'm not saying he's necessarily playing it, like playing it is helping him be a center back. I would agree with that. I think playing center back's way harder than playing fullback, dude. I think it's way harder.
I agree with that. It is more difficult. But like your boy Pedro Porro, like he would probably disagree. He would probably. I mean, having a fullback.
There are levels to this here. Pedro Porro is a slightly better fullback.
He's okay.
Any MLS fullback period.
Slightly above replacement value. Come on.
Just slightly. Let's get 2 World Cup goals.
He's a baller, man. I cannot.
Dude,
wow.
Absolute baller.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, we've got Pedro Porro balling out, Jed Spence balling out, Cuti Romero balling out. Tottenham was really good defensively, right?
Mm-hmm. Not so much. Anyway, the only other takeaway I'll get from the Atlanta scrimmage, and listen, I'm being a little bit of a like devil's advocate. I don't want Ian James playing right back either. I really don't. I think he can do a job there. Sure.
But I would prefer him to learn from Orbalorian.
Yeah.
or Moises Mosquera about how to play that position well than how to play right back. I think that he's not learning how to play center back playing right back. All he's learning is how to get on the field.
Yep. Amen.
And those so there is no correlation between the two. So I would agree with that part of your argument. The thing that I would take away from the scrimmage also is that Wyatt Meyer is still Wyatt Meyer. Oh my God. Oh my
90
God.
90 minutes of White Boy Meyer. Some good times.
Yikes.
Yeah. That's okay.
We need Moises. Can you like be on the treadmill every day, dude? Because we need you to get fit like immediately.
Be patient. Be patient. It'll happen.
We need you to be fit like immediately. Yeah, I understand why you don't push him back. Like, what's the point? Even if David Lee's talking about getting in the playoffs, what's the point? Like, really, what's the point of pushing these guys? But man, I would like our team that is going to be the starting lineup next year to be, building some cohesivity.
Absolutely.
Right? Cohesion. Right? All right. Let's move on to potpourri. Just like your favorite Jeopardy category, we got a few topics in and around the MLS soccer sphere, Sporting Kansas City MLS soccer sphere. The Kansas City Current continue to find ways to lose on the road. After just throttling Denver the week prior, they just get... I don't know. The thing is, it's like statistically, they really get the pants beat off them by Orlando. Mm-hmm. But it certainly never felt like that they were going to win this game.
Yeah.
And, Marta puts a freaking shot that through a window that only Marta can, right?
That was a ridiculous shot.
It was absurd. But hey, a noteworthy point on this shot was maybe you should put some pressure on Marta outside the top of the box.
What position player should be in that area to provide pressure to Marta?
I think it would be a number 6.
I think you're right. A defensive midfielder. If only sometime in the last couple of years we had a good number 6.
That like looked at that situation and went, oh shit, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I got to be honest. Lowe's attempt on this was less than half-hearted.
Sure.
And I mean, it bums me out a little bit because I love Lowe and she's great, but she just didn't even try on this play.
So like this is the Chris Armas experience, right? Like this is why this guy keeps getting jobs. It's because his teams can be good and they can be also super bad, and the lack of consistency is kind of a hallmark of him. I mean, I think that on balance, you can say he's more bad than good, but that's just kind of where the Current find themselves. And who knows, if Temua's gone for 3 or 4 games for WAFCON, like who knows what they're gonna do? Like, I mean, she is such a game changer when she's on the field. It's how are they going to press? How are they going to create consistent chances? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a long-term issue. I don't know that... I see a team playing this year not playing at the same level of intensity as last year, which is noteworthy because you would expect a Chris Armas-led team to be a very high-intensity team.
Yeah, they're supposed to be super intense.
And yet somehow their pressure is worse than last year.
Yeah.
And it's not just Claire Hutton. I mean, don't get me wrong. We are the biggest Claire Hutton fans on this podcast, and she is balling in Bay, and I'm happy for her that she's doing well. But Claire wasn't the most like aggressive pressing 6 on earth.
Right.
Like that wasn't really her game. She was really good at being in the right place a lot, right? And so she knew where the ball was going to be and would be there. But pressure wasn't really her thing. And so like it's basically the same roster, and all of a sudden their counter pressure and their midfield pressure is worse under a coach who's supposedly known for that, and it just makes you go, why all of a sudden do they suck at this?
Yeah.
Like, even defensively, they're just not as crisp. Kayla Sharples was like Defender of the Year level center back last year. She's not that this year at all.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Like, I just don't know. I mean, I can only react to what I see in the games. And when this team was coached by Vlatko Andonovski, they seemed to give a lot more of a shit what they were doing. That's all I'm saying.
Good coaches have a way of doing that, you know. That's all. I mean, I think it's really as simple as that.
It is simple as that, and you know, I'm not. These are all professional soccer players. So I'm not acting like they're like phoning it in. I'm just saying that last level of intensity,
yep,
just doesn't seem to be there.
No.
I don't know how to say it any other way than that.
Coaches do that. Coaches are responsible for that last level of intensity.
Well, but they also create environments where the people want to do that, right?
Absolutely. That's part of it. Absolutely.
It's not just yelling and telling them what to do. It's like inspiring that from them.
Absolutely. And having a plan that everybody can buy into, to making it easy, right? Like having a plan that's simple where everybody knows what their responsibilities are and they know how to be successful at it, and they can go out there and give it, you know, all that they have without fear of failure and without having to think too hard about it.
Exactly. And why did we have to be here? Why do we have to be here?
I don't know,
like,
man.
Honestly, dude. Like, why do we have to be here? There was no reason that we needed to be here right now.
Rich people. Billionaires.
Well, I mean, but we're talking about the difference. Like, there's a billionaire that runs Sporting Kansas City that is like just sort of like, here, I'm gonna give the guys who know what the fuck they're doing the resources to make their team better.
We're at the very beginning of that honeymoon phase. I fully expect for it to turn bad someday.
It could. It 100% could. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. They fixed something that wasn't broken.
Yep.
And they made it worse.
Yes, they did.
And like you said, Temwa is out for women's AFCON, which, I mean, she should go to that. Like, that's what they're using as World Cup qualifiers for. So if Malawi can get it, Malawi, I don't know, has ever been in the Women's World Cup. So, like, hell yeah, go do that. But, man, it's a bummer for the season. Like, she's going to miss 5 to 6 games, like, minimum.
Yep.
And if her and her sister ball out and yank Malawi up into the knockout rounds,
it could be longer.
It could be longer, for sure. So we'll have to see how that works out. And Michelle Cooper we'll see what her level of fitness is, but I mean, she was out for this game and not fully fit based on the last press conference I heard. So who knows if she's going to play this weekend. But yeah, those are problems. Those are real problems.
They are.
Okay. The World Cup final is set. Spain versus Argentina. Let's talk about the Spain versus France match because I found it fascinating just because of how comprehensively Spain has just absolutely, like, they just choked.
Do you know
the France
who I wish I could have watched that game with?
Who?
I would have loved to watch that game with Peter Vermes because I bet you that was like the platonic ideal of a soccer game to him, of like that performance by Spain. Like that is it, man. Like the maximum control, maximum possession. You know, nicking a goal and then getting the second one and just suffocating the other team by smart counter pressing and by excellent positional play and by defensive possession. Is it. It's boring as shit, but man, it is effective.
It's boring as shit for neutrals.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I thought it was great. Yeah.
For sickos like you and I found it fascinating. Yeah. I thought it was unbelievable. I was absolutely just floored by how good Spain was in this game and how they, like I said, like if you look at for those of you that aren't on Footy yet, this is John Muller and Mike Imbrugio's app that's sort of like it takes FootMob to like the next level, honestly, with analytics and models and stuff in it. Part of it, like if you look at like the story, like it's got stories like Instagram on each of the teams when you look at a matchup, and if you look at it, you can see sort of the passing map networks of the team, and they did it by quarter basically, like up to each. Sometimes they do it at water break, sometimes they do it at different. I think there's an AI or not an AI. I think there's an algorithm that sort of like naturally splits them up. But it showed the first half, and it was just like it was a wall of Spain. Like they were perfectly distributed across, like right at the half line, and they're just like, you're not gonna pass this spot. You're just not gonna pass here.
Well, and they had like a heat map, a possession or danger heat map, and the entire middle of the field. Like there was a huge circle in the middle of the field that was just all Spain. Like Spain just completely dominated that part of the field, and forced forced everything out wide, and it really denied any sort of creativity to the midfield. It kept France's midfielders from any sort of creative passing from midfield positions into their attacking four, and when those players, when they did get service into Mbappe or one of those other three attackers, like they were swarmed immediately. Like they were always surrounded by Spanish players, and it was really beautiful. Honestly, it was like just a masterclass, and to do that to a team that had been flying so high and had really the most dynamic attack in some respects in the tournament, and just
in some respects they were. I mean, bro, they had Mbappe, Dembele, Olise, and Barcola.
I hedged because I don't know. I don't know what their underlying metrics were 100%. But yeah, those guys are ridiculous.
You just watch those games and you're just like this is amazing. This is what football should look like.
Like they didn't do anything.
They were
not dangerous at all. It was crazy.
Well, and something goes listen, I know that this we already were nice to Pedro Porro, but Porro and Marco Correa were fucking fantastic in this game.
They were both
absolutely fantastic in this game, because France is so they create so much trouble with just the individual talent of their wingers, right? With Barcola and Dembele, you have guys that are just so fucking good, and then Olise can go overload either side. What do you do? What do you do against that? Honestly, in Spain we're just not going to allow you to do anything. It was an unbelievably, really, like you said, Peter Vermees, I know you're right, enjoyed the hell out of this game, because this is the quintessential, choke the fuck out of the game with the ball, with your positioning, with your control. Just don't allow anything to happen.
Yeah, they didn't need that. They didn't even need the second goal. It was France were not dangerous at all the entire match.
Mbappe just started taking 20-yarders in the last 20 minutes of the game, because they just literally he couldn't get any closer to the goal with the ball.
Yep. Just the ability to make all those just world-class players just look ineffective is it's a spectacle, man. I mean, it's really special to be able to do that to an attack as stacked as that one is. It's
France
crazy.
had 0.7 XG all the way into the 75th minute of the game.
Yeah,
just absurd.
That is absurd.
Absolutely, and it's not like Spain wasn't. Spain had 1.5 x. It was 1 point. Spain had 1.5 to 0.7.
Yeah,
0.07. Excuse me, 0.07. And I'm you guys want to see a dead body? And
they weren't even it's not like Spain had 60% possession. The possession metrics, the time of possession was pretty even. It was just they did not allow France to do anything, and France had a bad game too. Like their touches, their attacking players, their touches were off. France started off the game looking like the United States did against Belgium, right? It was just like all their touches were off. It was
that was the whole joke, right? Like, is if the U.S. had played better against Belgium, they would have run into this,
right? that would have been.
If Spain could do this to France.
Yeah.
Imagine what the U.S. would look like against this team. Yeah. But yeah, I think they're just. Wow, I was really, really impressed.
Yeah, I
really
was
impressed.
It was not what I expected at all from the game, and I just came away from it I really enjoyed it. Even though I watched it in a dive bar in St. Joe, Missouri, which is as. It was about like you would imagine. Interesting.
Okay,
times.
That's an interesting place to watch a World Cup match. But
it is. It is.
You know, I mean, you probably had some interesting compatriots watching the game with you.
I did. There were not many of them, but they were a special crew, I think.
Let's move on to something much less impressive, and that's England's bottle job against Argentina.
Wow. I mean, the cool thing is it sets up this like this. I don't know. I know that Argentina, they play like possession soccer. They like to control games, but I just feel like there is just a ferocious like chaos to the way that they play, and it just contrasts really nicely with like Spain's more like calm possession, like control oriented approach, and so like I'm really looking forward to it. The game today was just nuts, man, just absolutely nuts, and the coaching was nuts too. I don't know, man. I mean, Tuchel's coaching job was ridiculous.
I mean, the thing is like, this is Tuchel, though. He's done this multiple games this tournament. Right. They brought in Dan Burn and turtled up at the end of games several times. But he started this in the 75th minute. He brought in Ezri Konsa for Anthony Gordon in the 75th minute, dude. What are you doing? I will give England a lot of credit for how they played this game. I think that they recognize that their ability to sort of keep the ball away from their own goal, again, keep Messi et al. Away from your goal, and you'll generally be in good shape. And they have elite midfielders to be able to help do that, and wingers and really pressing wingers. Like Anthony Gordon's a great pressing winger. Like, that's why you have him on the field, right? Morgan Rogers, like the guys he chose, it looked like a really tactically like nuanced perspective about how to keep Argentina away from your goal.
Yep. And it worked.
Then they scored, and he was like, right into turtle mode. Right into turtle mode. And I'm like, what are you doing? And you just let Lionel Messi sit on the ball 25 yards from your goal? What the fuck's wrong with you, man? Like, what do you think's going to happen?
Man. Yeah, he galaxy brained himself out of a win for sure. He just tinkered too much. He's that kind of coach, right? Like he's a tinkerer, and
and once he was bought in, he went full in, right? So he goes to the back five, and then Reece James gets hurt, and then he takes off Declan Rice for Dan Burn, and all of a sudden, and Nico O'Reilly is sort of playing midfield, but he's a fullback, right? We know that. There's 6 defenders on the field once it's 1-1, and I'm like, what are you, brother?
Yeah, and so when that happens and Argentina equalized, then now what are you going to do? Like you don't have any attackers on the field, so you can't push the game at all. And they still, at the end of the game, they still sat back and let Lionel Messi like pick them apart again. And It was.
Well, I thought Alexis McAllister had scored on that whole sequence. I was certain because it was another one of those like 20-yard shots. It was wide open at the top of the box because they're so deep defending. Like they have this line of 6 or 5 that's so deep, and no one is coming to press the ball carrier at the top of the box. So that cutback was right there and I thought McAllister scored, and he hits the post, and then Messi picks it up and recirculates it around, then just with his right foot hits an absolute peach across. And it's just
That's great.
I
felt bad for Spence in that, but yeah.
I mean, I felt bad for Spence a little bit because Spence actually played well in this game. I thought he had a really good game.
He played well. He had a great tournament, man.
And dude, that freaking that tackle that he made where he recovered, like he's 30, it's 30 yards to goal, and he recovers 5 yards and 30 and makes the tackle. It was absurd. But still, like, Jed Spence versus Lautaro Martinez, I'm going to take Lautaro Martinez pretty much most of the time, right? Like, it's just, he's a fucking elite striker, dude. He's going to find a way to get to that ball. And it's just, like, how do you have 6 defenders on the field and no one's on the back post? Like,
yeah, I mean, at that point, so at that point, right, it's the players, right? It's not, it's not just Tuchel's fault that they lost. The players bear responsibility too, because you got to take care of your business, man. And I just like, I think that especially as the tournament's gone on, like people have been more and more critical of Argentina, and a lot of that is deserved. There are some dudes on that team that are not good dudes, and they play on the edge, right? In a way that European teams tend not to, right? They play on the edge like a lot of CONMEBOL and a lot of CONCACAF teams do. They employ dark arts. They play a little bit dirty. They throw elbows. They do all of that stuff, and that turns like people, at least on social media, profess that they don't like that shit, and I can understand that. But man, like, I have so much respect for that team. They are
win how you need to win.
They are the
in there.
nastiest, grittiest team. They don't ever give up, and they don't ever stop pressing and fighting for every ball. They are just scrappers, man, and it's really a fun thing to watch. And I think that this match is already being undersold. The matchup between Argentina and Spain. I don't think it's going to be like this sort of like boring affair. I think it's going to be a really dynamic and interesting match, and I can't wait.
I do too. I'm excited for the match, but also, like, I think to your point, it is two different, completely different styles in how they go about trying to play soccer, and I think this is another thing that's sort of fascinating to me because England got sucked into the CONCACAF and the CONMEBOL of the first half, right? They got sucked into it. It became a foul fest. And I got to be honest, Ismail Elfath had a great game, like managing this.
I thought he was good. Yeah.
Did a really good job managing this game. But Tuchel got him back out of the halftime. It was like, stop getting sucked into their bullshit. Play our soccer. And they did, and they scored. And then he did his turtle up bullshit. I'm just like, no. Just no.
Yep. It was there. It was right there for the taking. Yeah.
Like, you just totally fucked it at the end, and like, you cannot leave Lionel Messi on the ball with time and space at the end of a game. You just can't do that. Like, this is like Jordan. Like, it's like leaving Jordan open for a 3. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. Man mark him and make somebody else beat you. I mean, like. Yeah, I totally agree. There's just the inevitability of it is so funny. Like, I just sat there and I started giggling after the second goal. And what was wild
is they also right around the same time, Scaloni brought on Rodrigo de Paul, who was also like huge, because once England wasn't committing as many numbers in the middle, de Paul got on the game and he just took over. Yeah,
he still got it.
He does. And, especially for 20 minutes at the end of a match like that, right?
Yep.
And, yeah, Argentina just ran fucking shop for the end of that game. And you just can't let them do that. They have too many good players, man. You can't just let them do what they want. And when you do, you get beat.
that you played into their strengths, right? That's the worst part of it. Like they're not like a dynamic transition team, and they're not like a great possession team. They don't defend well necessarily in their own box, but what they do really well is what you saw them do is they possess in the final third, and they counter press really well, and they recycle possession really well, and they're really good at getting, at playing, small ball and really close corners and finding open players that result from collapsing in, and when that open player is one of the best player in the history of the universe, it kind of makes your job tougher,
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. Yeah. It's great. It's cinema, man. It's just great to watch. It really is enjoyable.
Absolute cinema, right? Like it's the meme. All right, let's move on to one thing to look for. Sporting Kansas City is playing an actual competitive soccer match tomorrow, as we're recording this, in Scum City, capital letters. As we noted, Justin Reynolds, Taylor Carrera, Diego Borges are all out. Is Ian James going to play right back? It seems like that's happening.
Who else?
Jay Davis. That's the option.
Then yes, Ian James at right back is my choice.
All right. That I have a question here. It's like, should he play right back? We've already sort of had that conversation, but I mean, you made it very clear with the alternate options. I think it'll be interesting to watch to see how Manu does in this game. I thought he was pretty good against Atlanta. I really do. I thought, like, when I watched that scrimmage, I thought Manu was fairly positive in that game. I don't think he did much on the pressing side, but he was really good on the possession side. So I'm kind of the opinion that if he's not a good presser and he's not a good ball winner, maybe having him higher up the field as far as responsibilities are concerned is not the worst thing on the field. I
agree. It's the lesser of the evils. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's where I would expect to see him. If he starts, I mean,
who's gonna start in that position if it's not him? Harris out for a while. You gonna put Calvin Harris at that position? Who's gonna play left wing? Oh, so you're talking Calvin Harris, Capita, and then Magomed Shapi Suleimanov?
I mean, I'm just that's not what I would do, Drew. I'm just trying to throw out, possible scenarios so people don't feel blindsided. Yikes. I would imagine that he starts up top. But who knows?
I don't know how you leave Manu out of this game. I don't see that.
I don't either, but he wasn't starting at the end of the first part of the season.
But part of that was a little bit of message sending and a little bit of and also Taylor Carrera earning an opportunity to play.
I don't disagree.
Taylor Carrera is not available.
I absolutely. I agree with you that that's what should happen, but I think that's what I'm saying. Take all that into context. Message has been sent and received. We saw how Manu performed when he came in at the end of those games. I think he's earned the right to get back to the starting lineup, I guess is my point, agree.
Especially if Calera is injured. That's all.
Especially if the only other option is Shapi, yes.
Or Steven Afrifa. Those are your options.
Yeah. Yikes.
Okay. Will Wyatt Meyer be significantly involved in the proceedings?
If not him, then who?
Yeah, that's the thing. If Ian James is playing right back, yes.
Yep. That's the least bad option. It pains me to say. I didn't say it was a good option. I said it was the least bad option.
I am hopeful that Amir Karic will feature in this game. Will he start? Nice. He would be healthy. I don't know how much the way the wiki sort of talked around it in the presser was that some guys haven't had much time with the team, right? And Karic would, of course, be amongst those. Blorian has been with the team since he's been here like a month, right? Yeah, Blorian is ready to start. Karic, maybe not, right? He just got his visa, so I would like to see him start, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm interested to see how the team looks after having, 5 weeks to sort of work on what they need to work on and adding a little bit of depth and quality, raising the floor. I think they did raise the floor. I really do. I think they raised the floor with the signings they brought in. It's time to raise the ceiling with some more signings, but the floor has been raised. And candidly, I mean, can you name a single St. Louis player?
I cannot.
Like, they're just as nondescript as Sporting are.
Yeah.
They really are. So it's not like with Klaus and Celio Pompeo. Does Celio Pompeo still play for them?
I think so, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I guess he does.
I don't even think about them. So
I really don't either. So I mean, it's just as nondescript. And trust me, if you're on the SoccerWise Discord, they are upset about the situation with their roster in a level that is way beyond what any of the folks are in ours. So I think there is some positives to be found in that. And so hopefully there's a dub coming versus Pink Dog Food FC.
Let's do it. That would be great.
And hopefully we're having a victory pod next week to discuss it. If not, either way, we'll be back to talk about it next week. And until then, I'm Drew Hughes-Cody. We'll talk to y'all then.
Go Sporting.